Hey, welcome to Live from Dennis's House. Today we are spotlighting So Alone, the solo album by Johnny Thunders. This album was released in 1978. Where were you in 1978, Dave?
Probably CBGB's.
Did you ever see Johnny Thunders?
I did one time.
Oh, nice. How was it? Was he?
It was scary.
Was he alert during this time or not?
He was in pretty bad shape.
Damn.
But prior to the show, he took a cab to a New York City club. So it was to a New Jersey club. So he took a cab from New York City. And I was at college, and last class ended. I went to the club a little bit early and didn't wait but 3-4 minutes, and here comes this cab, and Johnny Thunders gets out. And I was like, wow, look at me, you know. And I greeted him and asked him if he needed help with his guitars, carrying them into the club. And he accepted. He had 3 guitars.
Nice.
He carried 2. I carried 1, and I remember this guitar case being so light. It was light as a feather. I said, like, what kind of guitar would be that light? And we got inside, and there was no guitar in that drug case. There was, shall we say, pharmaceutical helpers in there.
That's why he let you carry it in the case of cops came.
That was probably true. He carried the guitars, I carried the drugs. And it was heroin, and that scared me.
Wow, there you go.
That was his drug of choice, which led to his untimely death. But while he was here, he was one hell of a musician.
He was awesome. He was awesome. So we're going to talk about everything Johnny Thunders. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff. And we're going to talk about Dave. Dave carries a big stick. I have to say, actually 2,000 of them. Dave has the world record, I believe, for the most amount of drumsticks owned by one person.
I'm trying to certify it with Guinness Book of World Records.
All right, so we're going to talk all about that. We just want to introduce you quick here, and we're going to start the show off with a long-distance dedication to Ralph Cramden, and we're going to play "You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory" by Johnny Thunders, and we'll be right back. Now, we're going to start off the show, and we're going to talk about what I did this week, all the exciting, awesome things. And I actually did something very awesome this week. I went to see Paul McCartney in concert. We're talking about punk here, but Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, if you will.
To you, it is, sir.
I've never actually seen Paul McCartney, I realized. And I started to panic. I said, I've never seen the Beatles. I've never seen Wings. I've never seen Paul McCartney solo. So everybody's passing away. You know, I got to go check this out before it's too late. Because I'm sure, like you, I hate going to stadium shows.
Yep.
And the last stadium show I went to, I think, was Guns N' Roses and Metallica in 1989, right? So I prefer the small club with the vomit on the floor,
down and dirty,
the needle in the guitar case, kind of thing, you know, and the train spotting toilets, if you will. So, but anyway, I said I'm going to make the plunge this time. I'm going to go see Paul McCartney, and I went with my sister, my wife, and my daughter. It was 3 generations of Beatles fans, and I have to say I'm very glad that I did. It was an awesome time, and he was charming, and his voice was great, I gotta say. You know, of course, he couldn't still do Oh Darling or Helter Skelter and stuff like that, but he could do every other song, and he's such a great musician. You know, as you know, he can play the drums, and he was playing the lead guitar, he was playing bass, he's singing, playing acoustic, playing the piano, and it was just a lot of fun. 50,000 people on their feet, or however many people can fit in there. Yeah. Now we're going to have to stop the show, and we're going to have to discuss that. You don't have a cell phone at all?
I do not own a cell phone.
How do you survive?
You know, you need me, you'll find me. You know, if I need you, I know where you're at. You know.
Oh man, I've never actually met.
But think about it. I'm not busy on the cell phone in the middle of a concert like so many people that probably angered you as you're sitting there and they're texting and they're writing about the show and they're uploading the pictures they just took, and they spent $500 for that seat and they spent half the night looking into their little Apple iPhone. I'm not that guy. I'm hanging on every note of music and.
Wow, that's something.
Well, that's going to be my legacy. On my tombstone, you'll read, and he did not own a cell phone to this day.
The last living man without a cell phone.
That's my legacy.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So anyway, it was a great show. If you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend going to see Paul McCartney. And I did just that. And I have another interesting story that I broke the gender line this week as well.
Oh, tell us more, Dennis.
So, you know how they have all with the what do they call it? Gender-free bathrooms now, right? So I created my own gender-free bathroom. I was driving home from work on a Friday afternoon. I was stuck in 2 hours of Jersey Shore traffic. And then I figured, all right, I got to get off at this exit because there's more traffic. I'm going to burst. So I figured, all right, I'm going to go. There's a Dunkin' Donuts over there. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then I'm going to get a big iced coffee and refuel, right? So I go running into the Dunkin' Donuts, and of course the men's room is locked. And then there's a woman's room standing right next to me, wide open. And I'm looking around, there's nobody around. So I was like, well, here we go. I'm going to break the barrier, the final barrier. So I go in there and it's just a one-person bathroom. It's not, so I didn't have to worry about there being other people in there. So I ran in, I closed the door and I locked it. And I said, all right, I'm safe. So I took care of my business. But then the terror struck that I was like, oh, crap. Now I know that someone's going to come to the door, or even worse, I'm going to open the door and there's going to be like a line of girls waiting to use the bathroom and a mom, and they're going to beat me with umbrellas and all this stuff, call me Masher, whatever. So all this terror was going on in the bathroom. So I sheepishly opened the door and I stuck my head out and there was nobody there. So I got away with it, Dave.
All right.
I broke another barrier. There you go. My bucket list is...
Okay. I'm going to ask the question that Nick, our producer, is dying to ask, but he's not... he might get in trouble if he asks. While you were in that ladies' room, Dennis, did you sit or did you stand?
I stood.
All right.
Yes, and it is true what they say. There was like a water fountain in there. There was it was old marble and glass. It was
and
like
cleaner than the men's room, I bet.
It was like a showplace in there. Hey, welcome back live from Dennis's house, and now we're going to talk to my guest, Dave Iozzia. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, so now, like we were saying before, Dave collects drumsticks, but it's not just any drumsticks. These, correct me if I'm wrong, but the drummer actually has to hand you the stick. Is that how this happened?
I like a burden of proof that he actually used them.
Okay. So, all right, so now I'm not even going to ask you. You tell me about this. How did you get started collecting drumsticks, and how do you collect them? And tell me all about this.
Way back in 1977, a band called Bebop Deluxe was playing at a theater in Passaic, New Jersey, called the Capitol Theater.
Wow, I remember that.
Spent many a night in that theater, and I used to call their, this was before cell phones, Dennis, and before answering me, and I would call that number before bed to hear the automated service telling me what show was going on sale the next morning. Right. And I heard that night that Bebop Deluxe was going on sale the next morning at 9. I got to the mall. It was 3 stories up in a Bamberger's, which I think turned into Macy's, that they had a Ticketron.
Oh, my God. That was even before Ticketmaster.
Yeah, you physically bought tickets, which they punched up and it came out of a machine. You couldn't buy them online because there was no online. And the door opened and there was competition. And we jockeyed and ran and kept elbowing each other and made it up to the 3rd floor. He beat me to the machine. The security guard asked us why we were running, but he let us go. He understood. And this guy, God bless him wherever you are, I hope you're hearing this, you turned down front row seats because they were a little bit too far to the right of center. And you chose 2nd row, dead center, leaving me for the front row seat. A New York City punk band called The Dictators opened that show, and I got my first guitar pick.
Awesome. Ross
Styx,
the Boss?
Yeah, Ross the Boss.
There you go.
Styx, who was just breaking their mega hit album, Grand Illusion, was sandwiched in the middle, and I got 2 guitar picks.
That's some show.
But then the headliner came on, and I got my first drumstick. Simon Fox, the drummer of Bebop Deluxe, broke it, threw it my way, and I picked it up and started everything.
So let me get this straight now. The 3 bands, Dictators, Styx, and Bebop Deluxe was the headliner?
Over Styx, who was breaking Grand Illusion.
Wow, that's something.
And in 2000, the Psychedelic Furs reformed. And Frank broke a drumstick, and it was just out of my reach up on stage as I sat there and one of the Atlantic City casinos. I can't remember which. And I intimated to Mr. Fortis that I was coming up on stage to get that stick. He kept shaking me off, and I kept telling him I was coming up. And he walked over to it, and he had the coolest pair of boots on, and he kicked it with his boot over his pedal board, over his monitors, right into my hand.
Ah, nice.
Couldn't have happened better.
You're like James Bond.
And it was the first new drumstick in 23 years, Nick.
Ah.
And on the way home, driving an hour and a half in traffic on the parkway.
Yeah, of course.
I thought, boy, I could reach out to drummers through the internet and kind of tell them I'm going to be at their show and I'm hoping to get a drumstick. Or I told Dennis Dyken from the Smithereens, I dropped your drumstick and I don't have it. Somebody else had it. And the collection grew from there. And today, we just passed number 2,000, Dennis.
Wow. So before we get to the big announcement here, now tell us about this, the Guinness Book of Records here. You're trying to get in there?
Yeah, if anybody goes to their website, the Guinness Book of World Records, you will see if you search, because this isn't the most popular record, you might have to really dig deep. But if you searched drumstick, you would come up with a collection of 1,300 autographed drumsticks by some individual in New York City.
Right.
I've got 2,000. So I finally bit the bullet and I said, I'm going to put myself in the paperwork process to get them to certify the collection. I'm in the early stages. It's a paperwork process that might take 2 months. Of course, if you want it expedited for 500 British pounds, they'll do it quicker, but I'm not in that budget. So
you're not much of a rush, right?
Yeah, no, I'll wait my turn. But if we're just looking at the numerics, 1,300 versus 2,000. Right. I think I've got them beat.
So what is your crown jewel in your collection? Which is your favorite stick that you got?
I was a very big fan of the Police with Stuart Copeland.
Ah, great drummer.
Great drummer, great band. I met his drum tech, who's been with him 20-something years, through the internet. And I mailed him a mailing tube with return postage on it.
Nice.
And 4 years later, he still had that mailing tube. Every Christmas, I would send him a Christmas card. Hey, no rush, but, you've got that tube, and I put the postage on it,
How's my mailing tube doing?
And I didn't rush him, but I was coming up on number 1,000. And I sent that Christmas card, and I said, Jeff, if you see Stuart, he's got the tube, it's got return postage on it. I'm saving the number 1,000 spot for Stuart. 3 days later, they arrived.
Nice. There you go.
And a pair of sticks, and it kind of says, Yo, Dave, Stuart, Copeland. But he wrote the number 1,000 with exclamation points.
Oh, awesome.
So that, to me, would be the current favorite drumstick of the collection.
So let me go through some names here. See if you got them. Charlie Watts.
No.
Ah, there you go. The whole collection's null and void now.
Null and void. But when we go to the Stones concert to review it and take pictures, he's still playing. I'm still catching him.
Absolutely. So, that would be
challenge
good
is
to
there.
Get that. I don't know who else I'm going to name. I'm not going to name anybody else. That's it.
Come on, one more.
All right, let me see. Marky Ramone.
Yes.
Tommy Ramone.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. You redeemed yourself.
Elvis Ramone.
Who's that?
Clem Burke of Blondie played 2 shows for the Ramones on drums and changed his name to Elvis Ramone.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
And Richie Ramone just played in Long Branch.
Right. I remember that. And didn't CJ play there as well?
He did, but I wasn't interested in CJ's guitar pick. I was interested in Richie's drumstick.
Okay.
So I have all 4 Ramones in my drumstick collection.
See, Tommy is
and Tommy's would be the most dearest to my heart, and probably if we were talking value, go on eBay, you'll see 700 sticks that Marky signed. It's probably him selling under a pseudonym. And
yeah, but that's it. When you have someone who's passed away, if you have those drumsticks, that's it. And not making any more.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And a few have died since they've been in my collection, but most of my drummers are still alive.
Yeah. You got Bernard Purdie.
Yes, he's played on every record there is, I believe. Where'd I read that recently?
I think that was Madhouse Magazine.
Yeah, Madhouse Magazine had this great story that Mr. Purdie played on every song ever recorded. And I looked in my vinyl collection. I've yet to find one he didn't record, so Madhouse may be right.
Yes, he's
but for
awesome,
some reason, I had
drummer.
I had to purchase a pair of drumsticks at the Guitar Center or Sam Ash, where he was doing his clinic.
Oh, okay.
To give them to him at the end to sign, but whatever.
Very nice man, great guy.
Yeah.
He's on the show before. A lot of fun. Now we're ready for the big announcement. Now, you have this drumsticks that you just got recently, right? To make your 2000
Saturday's mail, 9 a.m.
All right, so I'll give you a little drum roll here, and you'll do the
Can
unveiling.
I set up the story?
Yeah, set up the whole story. I won't even do the drum roll.
We mentioned Zach Starkey.
Right.
He's with The Who now, but he used to be with Johnny Marr and the Healers.
Okay.
Johnny Marr being the lead guitarist of the Smiths.
Yeah.
And they played in front of about 50 people at the Stone Pony. It wasn't too well attended, that show. But I went on the bus with Zach, and he signed sticks for me. I was thrilled. But I asked him, I said, Zach, what's the chances of getting your father to sign drumsticks for me? And he laughed at me, and he said, never in a million years.
Wow.
And as I was approaching 2000, I put out on the internet that I was really looking for a big name drummer. If Stuart Copeland did such a good job with 1000, I wanted a real good name for 2000. And somebody recommended that I talk to Gary Astridge, who I've never heard of, in Buffalo, New York. And when I got to Gary and told him Zach's story, he laughed at me too and said, never in a million years. But he said that as curator of the equipment of a world-famous drummer, when the equipment is stored in the United States, that Gary had a pair of drumsticks in his hand as we were speaking on the phone.
Wow.
He said they were used in Charleston, South Carolina, October 15, 2014, and he was putting all that down on a certificate of authenticity.
Wow.
And he asked if I would take those drumsticks based upon his certificate and the signature that was printed on them, because this individual refuses to sign drumsticks. And right here, we have number 2000 and 2001 from Mr. Ringo Starr.
Yeah, let's hear it for Ringo's drumsticks. Woo!
The father of Zach Starkey.
Yeah, there
you
you
getting
go.
that on camera there?
Yeah, you can see it good enough. You can see some sticks. You can't see the signature.
Well,
but
the little stars.
I will vouch for it.
I've scraped all the DNA off already, so don't try that one. But
what do you think? We could clone Ringo, maybe?
You never know.
That's awesome. This is kind of beautiful. Yeah, it feels nice. Whoa, that's awesome.
And you could see the dents. I mean, he's not a heavy metal drummer, so you didn't really smash him too hard. But
this is
doing When I'm 64. You really don't.
This is nice, man. This is a work of art, if you ask me. This is museum quality. Congratulations on this. This is awesome.
And the gentleman Gary said to me, "Are they going to be number 1999 and 2000, or are they going to be 2000 and 2001?" I thought that was a silly question, but I humored him and said 2000 and 2001, but why do you ask? And he said, well, all the Ringo fanatics that he'll be telling where these sticks ended up are going to want to know that. So.
Okay. Oh, so you count them like that, then they don't go as 2000 is a pair. Each stick is an individual?
Each stick counts individually, because when they throw them to you at a concert, Dennis, they typically throw one at a time.
Yeah. Getting two is
and some
awesome.
guys will mail two different pairs, single sticks. So I can't control what they're going to give me. Because I do deal with the U.S. mail from a lot of European-based drummers aren't touring here anymore due to the finances. And my only way to add them to the collection is through the mail.
All right. So that is awesome. You earned all your stuff, Dave, I got to say. That was a good job. So hey, welcome back live from Dennis's house. And now we're going to talk about Johnny Thunders and this album, So Alone, his solo album released 1978. Now, you want to talk about Johnny Thunders? You want to tell us everything you know about him? I'll just start off. He was born July 15th, 1952. John Anthony Gonzalez Jr. in Queens, New York. Another cool guy from Queens, New York.
Wow.
So, I'm also from Queens, and so are Ramon. So,
okay.
I say that in every show. So, anyway, of course, he was in the band New York Dolls.
Right.
Great band. That's what one band that everybody says, every punk band says, oh, yeah, I was influenced by the New York Dolls. The other band was MC5, I got to say.
MC5.
There you go. Yeah. So, I love the New York Dolls. David Johansen, of course. Arthur Killer Kane. Sylvain, Billy Mercia. Yep. So, why don't you tell us everything you know about them? And
well, you mentioned the New York Dolls part of it, but the New York Dolls was another band that kind of broke up after 2 records.
Yeah, that seems to be the MO with these people. 2 records and out.
And Johnny Thunders started a New York City, Queens-based band called the Heartbreakers.
Yes.
Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers.
With what other famous guy was in that band? A couple
Walter
of them.
Lohr, Billy Rath, and Jerry Nolan.
And Richard Hell.
Richard Hell, yeah.
Yeah, from
the Voidoids.
Voidoids, yeah.
But the Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers went on an infamous tour in England. I think they called it the Anarchy Tour.
Yes.
With the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Dennis' shirt. A couple other European...
The
Damned, Rat Scabbies. I mean, a couple of other British bands. And that tour kind of fell apart before it even got started.
And everything was canceled and all this kind of stuff.
Don't know why. Some say who knows.
It was just the whole climate in England at the time,
But that tour fell apart. And Johnny kind of lingered in London after that.
Really involved in drugs at this time, seriously. And as you said, that led to his downfall. But, you want to talk a little more about this album or anything?
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite cut is Daddy Rolling Stone with the 3 alternating verses. You might remember that the Sex Pistols on their debut record did a song called New York.
Right.
And they made fun of New York City musicians, especially the punk musicians, because, you're kind of like... They were posers. They were late to the game. That it was all the UK and New York came second.
They're crazy.
Which is opinion, whatever. But Johnny,
incorrect opinion.
Johnny came back and wrote his answer to that, a song called "London Boys," where he made fun of the.
This is like the rap wars of today.
Yeah, he called them suburban kiddies. He called them little puppets. He made fun that they used LSD and nothing harder than that. But interesting enough, he used the Sex Pistols, Paul Cook, and Steve Jones on that song. So even though he was making fun of them, and this Peter Perrett, who produced half this record and played guitar in half of it, I was speaking to him on Facebook today, and he was quite enamored to hear we were going to be talking about this album. And when he asked me my favorite cut, I said, Pete, I got to apologize, but it's London Boys. Don't take offense. And he, got back, and his answer was that it wasn't written by Johnny to address all of the punk musicians in London. It was written for a select few, of which he wasn't one of them. I think it was for the Sex Pistols.
That's
but,
what Johnny told him, it's not about you, don't worry.
So, I mean, that's a great song on it. You played earlier, You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory. I mean, if Johnny Thunders had a classic song, that was it. And it was just, to me, if you told me, Dave, 10 records that you're bringing, to that desert island, this is one of them. Dennis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great
big,
guy.
Big point of my life. I mean,
Yeah, so, he had a great career. Started out in the Dolls, Heartbreakers, solo career, and unfortunately he had a huge drug problem, which we know where that goes, right? And then on April 23rd, 1991, he passed away at age 38. Now, there's
25 years ago. I remember the day like it was yesterday.
And there's all these rumors about what happened, that foul play was most likely suspected, that he got involved with these London... No, it was in... Where was it? New Orleans. It was New Orleans drug dealers, and that his room was ransacked, and it because he had a big bunch of methadone, and they wanted his methadone, and it says that they gave him LSD because there was not enough drugs in his system to kill him, but I don't know exactly what happened, and they after they did the autopsy, they found out he had late-stage leukemia at this point as well, right? And then who was it? I think it was Willie DeVille, who lived next door to him, said that, he was there for so long and he was curled up in the fetal position on the floor and that rigor mortis set in. So when they were carrying him out, he was in a U shape, so it was a very sad way to go.
He came back to the United States from London. And I guess in London, they're a little more liberal with the amount of methadone they would give out. So he had a huge supply of methadone.
Right.
And they said that this New Orleans crowd that he got mixed up in, stole his methadone, and there's rumors he was beaten to death. There's rumors he was poisoned, and the New Orleans police, hey, just another drug overdose.
Yeah, right. So they didn't
why
look
bother?
into it.
So I don't think the true story's ever been out there.
No, it'll never come out now.
Willie DeVille, as you said, was in a hotel next door. And everybody called him for what was going on, but.
So
a little too late.
Story that'll never be found out. We'll never know the true story. But he was a great star, and he's very missed. So now it's time to smell the album. Dave, do you often smell your albums?
Yes, I do.
Very nice.
I smell the cover, though.
The top?
Yeah, you smell the inside?
Yeah, because I don't get a smell off of the top.
I'm sober 11 years, but you might remember alternate uses of albums back in the day.
Of course.
So I'm trying to put my arms around a memory, Dennis.
So now, before we wrap this up, we're going to do the news. All the news is not fit for print, Dave, and we're going to go to the annals of Madhouse Magazine.
Okay.
And you know how painful that could be, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a story, shocking story, Nick. I don't know if you've heard about this, but this morning, the U.S. bombs Canada. Revenge for Loverboy, they say. In a shocking move today, the U.S. launched a full-scale attack on Canada, leveling all of the country's recording studios, radio stations, and music manufacturing plants. U.S. Ambassador Leon Gottlieb stated, "We have been trying to use peaceful negotiations ever since Canada assaulted the world's senses with Loverboy and Working for the Weekend in 1981. Canada refused to turn the band over to the U.S. for extradition, so the U.S. had no alternative except to use force. Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau Jr. could not be reached for comment. And as if you didn't know, Loverboy was a terrible pop rock band of the 1980s, known for terrible songs, wearing spandex, perms, and headbands." So there you have it. All the news not fit for print. So I want to thank Dave Iozzia for coming on the show. And it was fascinating. I love that drumstick you have there. It was great. You were a great guest.
Had I known, I would have bought the Loverboy drumstick, but we'll save that for another show.
Yes.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us here on Live from Dennis's House, only on 474 The Mix, where the music matters. See you next week. I'll be doing another classic album, Behaving Badly. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, DennisMargello.com. Watch me on the radio, hit me on the TV, and all social media. And don't forget, MadhouseMagazine.com. See you next week.